guys, and welcome to another flip. This flip is over using textual evidence, summarizing, paraphrasing, and quoting. We've done a lot of work with quoting our evidence, and you guys have been doing a fantastic job with that. But we also need to talk about really the other two types and what do we do with paraphrasing as well as quoting. Okay, so if you should have your notes all ready to go. Look like this. So I'll kind of walk you through your notes as we go through our flip today. So, you guys are familiar with using textual evidence. You know that every piece of evidence that you pull has to be based off the text that you're reading. Okay, you can't, and that you also have to cite your source where it comes from. So you're already a leg up on this. But I kind of wanted to go through some specifics with you. So if you look on your first part of your notes, says define the following. So what is a quotation? So a quotation uses the exact words as the original source. Enclose the words in quotation marks. So make sure you remember your quotation marks if you're pulling something word for word. And you guys know that, so I feel like that's as far as we need to go with that one. Next is paraphrase. A paraphrase restates the author's idea in the original source, but in different words. There's the key. You would not put quotation marks around it because these are going to be your own words. However, the original thoughts were not from your head, so you still have to cite your source where they came from. So here's an example on the screen. If you look right here, it says daylight savings time actually increased electricity costs in the state of Indiana by about $9 million. So that would have been my own words where I do not put quotes around it, but I would still have to cite my source because it didn't come from my head. And last is going to be your summary. Summary includes the main idea and the most important details of a piece of text. So like a paraphrase, a summary, you're going to use your own words, not the author's. And I always think summary tends to be longer than a paraphrase. You'll paraphrase a sentence or two. A summary, you could summarize a whole paragraph. So there's an example for you. Economists found that daylight savings time cost the state of Indiana $9 million, probably due to residents' heavier use of heaters and air conditioners. So again, not word for word, it's just a summary. Okay, so now if you look on your notes, this is slide 2, examples. So here's some examples that I want you to work with. So first of all, let's look at the tip right here. You're going to use the 3 ellipsis points, which that's the fancy name for the ... okay, in the middle of a quoted sentence to show you're omitting part of the quote. And we've talked about this before, but write down for your tip, and you can shorten this. You can use the ... to delete part of the quote that isn't necessary. That's the whole point. So the example here is influence, it can cause suffering and many lost hours of productivity. So whatever part they omitted here obviously wasn't that important to the topic at hand. So feel free to use that strategy. Okay. The other thing it says is short versus long quotes. I wanted to bring this up for you guys to be able to see. Excuse me. So I've had questions about that. So a short quote would be just like how we normally have done it. According to Dr. Brown, influenza can be a very dangerous disease. So you just put the quote in there just like we're used to. Now, for longer quotes, the rule is 4 lines. Okay? So if you're going to quote something that is 4 lines or longer, and that's exactly what it says here, you're going to use the block quotation format. And that's what you see right here on the paper. Everything is indented. Your quote. There are no quotation marks around it. I know it's a quote because it's going to be indented. And make sure you're using this for a purpose. There should be a specific reason why you're going to quote that length of a text. Okay? Our normal evidence, we're not going to quote that much information. Okay. Then I want you to put the examples for the quote, the paraphrase, and the summary from this short little article here. So the first one says you're going to quote the first sentence of the final paragraph. So let me take you down there. Here is the final paragraph, and I want you to quote the first sentence. It says, daylight savings time is an outdated, ineffective, and harmful institution. Let's get rid of it once and for all so we can all sleep more easily. So quote the first sentence and write that down. Okay, the next thing you are going to do is paraphrase. This is paraphrase the first 2 sentences of the third paragraph. So let's go back up. 1, 2. Here's the third paragraph. And we're going to paraphrase the first 2 sentences. While energy conservation is a noble goal, DST just isn't the way to get there. The evidence that it works is shaky at best. So to paraphrase, do not quote any of that information. Look at it, step away from it, put it in your own words. Okay? And then once you've done that, you're ready to write your example for a summary. Summarize the 5th paragraph. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right here. Adjusting the clock twice a year takes a big toll on the human body. Exposure to sunlight and changes in sleeping hours can disrupt our circadian or daily rhythms. So again, do not take it word for word, but summarize that entire paragraph into your own words. Okay, moving forward. Integrating quotes is slide number 3. We've been doing this, but I feel like we really need a lesson on it. So integrating quotes is the idea that, like I've told you, if you just drop your quote into the middle of a paragraph with no context, no explanation, your reader's not going to have any idea what you're talking about. So you have to put your quote in context, explain why it's important and what we're getting from it. You know, kind of like, why are you using that quote? So here's kind of the 3 things I want you to start thinking about. So the first thing is going to be what I call your lead-in, or what they call your introduction. And so that's what's in blue. According to Jackson, daylight savings time has a negative impact on our sleep patterns. So that's setting up your quote. You're telling me who the author is, getting ready to set up your quote. Now what I want you to write down on your notes is the green part. Introduce the quotation by providing some information about the source or its author. That's what you really need to be doing for your lead-in. Okay, next, obviously, then you'll have your quotation. Okay, there's your quotation. Exposure to sunlight changes in sleeping hours can disrupt our circadian rhythms. That makes getting a good night's sleep hard, she said. Okay, so, and then again, write down on your notes what's in green. Write the quotation itself. Make sure you use the author's exact words. Put it in quotation marks. So now you have your lead-in or your intro. You've gone into your quote, and now what they call the reflection is what I call the interpret. Our internal clocks don't automatically shift when time changes. So close by commenting or reflecting on the quotation. Show how the information fits your own ideas. So that is definitely going to be what we consider our interpret. So when we're looking at our CEI format, remember, C is going to be the overall, what's my point, what's my answer to my question. And then you're going to do this, the intro, quote, interpret, or reflection for each piece of evidence that you have after that point. Okay? All right, and last slide is about avoiding plagiarism. So first, I want you to define what plagiarism is. It's the act of taking someone else's words and ideas and calling them your own. Guys, it's stealing. You can get into huge trouble for plagiarizing later on in your school career if you don't start citing correctly. Okay? You guys already kind of have a leg up because we've talked about citing. I have you cite all the time, but you've got to make sure you transfer that into all your pieces of writing. Okay? So, you know, this paragraph right here talks about plagiarism. The part I think that is really important is right here, where it starts with, not there. When you write a paper, use internal citations for all quotations. That's what we've been doing. That's the parentheses. Paraphrases and summaries. You have to cite for all 3, even if it's your own words. If you're pulling the information from someone else's, you have to cite the source. And then it says most internal citations include the author's name and the page number in parentheses. And we'll work on that more and more, but that's the main idea. You've got to remember to use those citations. Okay, that's it for today. Hopefully you now have all of your notes filled out. Bring those back to class, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye.